recent new father, so dad jokes play really well.
Anything. Well done.
Yes, yes. Thank you. No, all jokes aside, we're super excited.
Jake, you gotta stand behind. Oh, that works. Try now.
Yes. Oh, perfect. Okay. So the beauty of doing one of these for the first time, so we appreciate everybody allowing us to test this all out. No, but super excited you're all here. Obviously, I think everyone can admit that with the last couple of years of uniqueness, like these kind of in-person events don't happen too often. So we're really excited you could all join us, and we're really excited about our customers speaking. My name is Jake. I'm one of the sales leads here, and I'm going to spend just a few minutes giving a little bit of background on Retool. So just for folks in the room who aren't as familiar, just got to get everyone level set. And then afterwards, we're going to hand it over to our speakers. Who's going first? Do you know?
Charlotte.
Charlotte. So Charlotte from Coursera is going first, and then I think Matt from Treasure Financial is going second, and then Ned from Flexport is going third. So really excited to hear their stories. We'll do some Q&A during those individual presentations, but again, specifically a big thank you to you all for doing this. Obviously, super excited about it. And so with that, afterwards, we'll be able to go out on the balcony, continue to have our drinks, eat pizza, whatever it is, hang out, and as long as you want. So really, again, thank you for being here. But without further ado, let's jump into the content. So first of all, again, like I mentioned, I want to give a quick background on Retool itself as a company. As you can see here, some high-level metrics on where we've come from and where we are to date. Very proud of our customer base, as you can see, and again, our customers being able to speak to that later today is the ultimate testament. I've just mentioned this to Matt. You know, I think as a company, the ultimate success that you have is just a reflection of your customer success. So we're very happy about that. And again, proud of you all to be here today. We have some great investors behind us. And as a company, we're going strong. This is our San Francisco office. We just went back to actually being in office a few days a week, just a couple of weeks ago. So again, I'm super excited to use this space and invite you all in here. For those who aren't familiar with Retool, and I wanted to ask that as the first question. If I get a raise of hands, like a quick raise of hands, who here has been who actually uses Retool and has been for like a year or like a significant longer amount of time? Okay, good mix. What about like brand new to Retool, has actually never used it or just started using it, like doesn't know much? Okay, all right, perfect. So good, a good mix. And then maybe somewhere in the middle, people that, you know, familiar but trying to beef up their skills or whatnot. Okay, perfect. So yeah, a good variety. That's kind of what we expected. So the purpose of me is just kind of level setting on who we are as a company and whatnot, just to get everybody kind of level set before our speakers take over. But at a high level, really what Retool is really focused on is helping our customers and our different companies out there across the world build internal software more efficiently, faster at the end of the day. And if you think about that at like a very basic level and how we often describe this to customers, when you're building an application, there are kind of three core building blocks, right? There's a database or somewhere your data is living in some sort. So what we provide is a whole slew of connectors to read and write from such databases, right? So you bring your own database. We also have a new product in beta called Retool DB. Our vision is to provide that longer term, but for now, most of our customers still bring their own database, whatever it might be, and we allow you to read and write from those and with our out-of-the-box connectors. The second piece of really any building block is an interface. So you need folks to interact with such a database, right? At the end of the day, where the data lives. And so we provide a very easy, simple drag and drop interface to create those UIs really quickly, really simply, really at a fraction of the speed you would traditionally have to spend to build such a thing. And then if you think about finally, it's like, how do you actually get those UIs to make updates or read or write or whatever it might be from those respective databases? So you need queries, you need basically to be able to manipulate it, you need to write code. And so that's the beauty of Retool, is that at the end of the day, it provides a lot of the core components out of the box, but you also can customize it to your needs. So that way your UI and your applications actually deliver the value that your respective business might need. You're not going to be stuck. You basically have these safety hatches throughout the entire application with JavaScript, CSS, SQL, whatever you might need, common languages that people are familiar with to build the specific applications that are right for your business. So that's at a high level. That means, you know, for those of you who know Retool, you probably know what this means. For you who's not as familiar, it's probably still a lot of stuff, but I think our customers will show you what really it can deliver at the end of the day here in a few minutes. And then the other thing I'd say about the product is it's very, it's very flexible in the sense that it can meet the needs of all different shapes and sizes of customers. You can either deploy it in your own environment, self-managed, your on-premise, your cloud environment, et cetera. Fine-grained security to meet different standards that are out there, compliance requirements, et cetera. And then if you want to integrate with other, Git, source control, so that way it integrates with your software development lifecycle. At the end of the day, it's a robust platform that allows you to build a whole number of use cases. I always highlight this. DoorDash is a great example. They started with a single use case to be able to turn off zip codes when Hurricane Ian. You don't want someone ordering sushi during that, right? You don't want a customer to be able to do that. You don't want to put a driver in danger. You need to be able to turn off that zip code or those slew of zip codes. And so that's where they started, and then ended up building dozens and dozens of use cases across their entire business. So pretty impactful stuff. And again, we're very honored to be able to work with them. And so just for those who aren't familiar, you can always get started. This is just a screenshot of our website, very simple. We have a very generous free plan that we recently launched, so folks can really get comfortable with the solution, with the product, and learn on your own or talk to anybody else at Retool if you want help. We're more than willing and would love to chat more. So that's all I got. Without further ado, we're going to get to the fun stuff, which is our amazing customers. Charlotte, if you wouldn't mind. Stand pretty close to this.
Yeah, I realize I have to be in a very specific spot.
Yeah, I'm the guinea pig.
Thank you.
Slide that table forward. Would that change space available?
This is the length of that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Problem solver. We'll figure that out. It's working.
Hi, everyone. My name is Charlotte Evans. I am a solutions consultant at Coursera. I've been with the company for about 3.5 years. Ryan's taking my picture in the background. He's going to put it on his LinkedIn later. And I've been using Retool for about 2 years now. My hunch about the Retool PMF is that for Retool, you're looking for engineers who can support a wide array, who are supporting a wide array of products and lots of custom configurations. There's a long tail of jobs to be done for those engineers, and you have developers who are pretty resource constrained. And then on the Retool side, you are able to offer drag and drop components, clean UI, low amount of JS. So that's a really clear product market fit. And then if you look at the bottom right side of the screen, it's me, the educator. I did not fit into that PMF story at all. I spent about 5 years in education in Asia before moving to Coursera, and I was supporting our degree side of our business. So definitely not the expected persona for sure. So how did this happen? The excitement. Retool ads are everywhere. Whenever we're walking down the street with my boyfriend Keith, I'll hit him on the side of the arm and go, "Look, it's another Retool ad." It's so exciting. And so I think the reason that I really love this so much, and this random person I found on YouTube gets it too, is really what Retool has done is allow us to tackle this long tail of our backlog. So it would have been a really big process for us to be able to tackle all of these different problems if we'd had to think about sprint planning and getting engineers on board. And people like me instead were able to build tools and fix a lot of problems in a pretty short amount of time because of the ability to really easily connect our data using a lot of the resources that are set up and the drag and drop components. And so this journey began in fall of 2020. For any of you that are slightly newer to Retool and thinking, how do we engage this in our companies? One of the things I really loved was we used our Makeathon, which is a hackathon kind of experience for a week, where we brought in one of the deployed engineers from Retool and some of our engineers on our internal tools team. We started identifying a laundry list of things that were in Postman calls or had custom scripts or in spreadsheets or Chrome extensions that were kind of buggy. And we were able to move those over into bespoke tools that were really self-serve and easy for us to fix. So it started from that Makeathon in October of 2020. And we automated 100% of our APIs for degree services in about 2-3 months. Sorry. And one of the things that we built was this really cool waterfall tool of degree data and student data. Through a new degree home, we've been able to build out a lot of tools already, including this degree data management tool. Say we focus on this hypothetical student, it's actually me, go first. You can see the student's record, association, their enrollment indicators and actions, and we can also see some degree level data about the UX design master track. If we were to go over to another use case within the IMBA program, we can look at onboarding information, and you'll notice the names are human readable with terms that are human readable and times that are no longer an epoch time. That was the best bit, honestly. Through a new degree home, we've been able to build out a lot of tools already, including this degree. How do we get into the next slide? There we go. Okay, so that was a much thinner version of Charlotte telling you all 2 years ago what Retool was impactful for. And so what we really found was quite valuable was automating away a lot of the things that were happening that might have been a lot of different tabs in Postman into a button, really using modules so that people could quickly grab solutions across the tools and drop them in, and then keeping things pretty organized through folders. And through that process, over a span of 7 months, I was able to teach a team of about 40 people in services who were non-engineers. A lot of them did not know SQL or JavaScript before they started, and we automated 98% of the things we were doing in Postman and moved them over to Retool tools, which was pretty exciting. Several hundred tools that were built, and they are still very much in operation. And then I moved teams over to the enterprise side of our business, and really found that there was a whole new set of use cases. Two that I'll show you today. So our team is supporting clients who are thinking about building in learning solutions into their companies to help with upskilling and reskilling. And the first thing that we noticed was there's just a vast amount of information that people were having to navigate. So we have some of our sales reps who might be trying to find information for a client, but they're just swimming in a lot of data. So we thought, how can we make this easier without saying, go write a SQL query? The first thing was with our Clips product. So we built out short form content by unbundling our catalog. And with that, there's now 200,000 videos that you can search for in our product. Some of our clients are wanting to build out pathways for those videos. And so here was the solution we built a couple weeks ago. One of our new product functionalities is Clips, which is our short form video offering where we've unbundled a lot of our content and make it searchable in the enterprise solution. We realized clients needed a fast way to be able to identify relevant content by first combing through course level filters and then looking at keyword matches in the video transcript level. While this is something that can be done in SQL queries, we wanted to make it accessible for our field sales team to be able to provide this insight for our accounts. And so we were able to build out this tool in about a day. Just so you don't have to watch me entering in data in the query running, this is an example of the output. So we filtered across these areas for course level information and then drill down here in the keyword matches. We also really like the ability to do these easy filters to find total alignment in terms of the keyword matches and the ability to download this and quickly send it to clients. I use this tool in about 3 meetings this week, which is really exciting. It is really helpful to be able to quickly say, yes, we have that, and move on in the next part of the conversation. And this tool unlocked that for us. The other element is custom credentials. So we have a partnership with Credly Badges. There was a fairly comprehensive technical document with APIs that was slowing down the process of really being able to use this in our beta, and was hinging kind of the success of the beta. And I built a tool on an airplane flying from San Francisco to Atlanta. And when I got it to work, and I was like, yes, in the middle seat in economy, the people across from me did not know the significance of the moment, but it was, you all can validate it right now for me.
Our government and campus teams were really excited about making badges for our customers through Credly, but the current workflow was pretty manual with APIs and S3. So we were able to move this over into Retool. So the cool thing that I think is about this is it combines both APIs as well as merging into S3. So we were able to add this in, and our engineer got really excited about this. So helped a lot with the code because she knew it was going to save her a lot of Jira requests from field sales. And we were able to make it so that this is something that can be toggled on instantaneously rather than having any sort of delay time. What might have taken a week is now taking 2 minutes through this demo. So we can see that the query is running and the badge is being created. Awesome, it's been created. Let's check out the demo program. And here we have it. Now this is toggled on for a client. We're really excited about this and it saved us a lot of time.
So we're hearing a lot of positive commentary from people in the enterprise side of the business. One of our account executives wrote to me on Slack recently. He was asking for can I pull this data? And I sent him a Retool link, and he said, at this point, I just assume there's a Retool for everything. And the same engineer that helped me with the Credly badges tool, when we finished, she wrote me in a slight panic and said, are there any issues or improvements? I'm kind of addicted to this now. And one of our solutions architects sent me an example of something he'd been working on and said, this is the best tool I worked on recently. So there's a lot of excitement at Coursera around Retool. If you have any questions about thinking about your own journey into this, if you're a non-engineer and want to chat through it, or Sales Plug would like to think about courses on Coursera that could help your people learn skills, please feel free to reach out. I'll be having a slice of pizza and probably a beer in the background.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Thank you. I guess I also need to stand in this exact spot. Then nobody will be able to hear me. I'll try not to trip over this and kill myself. I would probably not go as planned. Anyway, so as it says up here, my name is Matt Clower. I am the Chief Technology Officer at Treasure. Treasure is a smaller company, right? We're a little bit newer at being a company, but we're growing very, very, very quickly, about 34% month over month. Retool is actually a big part of that. I'm going to take a minute and I'm going to talk a little bit about what Treasure does. We're a registered investment advisor. We provide treasury management as a service for businesses. And it's interesting, this is a slide that talks about kind of how banks work, right? And before I joined Treasure, I never really gave this a lot of thought. You know, how if I don't have enough money in my account, they'll charge me to have my money there, right? Instead of earning. So that just, I always found ways not to have to pay a fee, right? But that's something that makes more sense to me now. And this is, you know, people should be able to earn money on the money that they have, right? And companies also. This is really a function of what's important to banks, right? Their products are lending, credit, that sort of thing. So getting that capital into the system is just their cost of doing business. So they have an incentive to not pay the depositors, right? That's why business bank accounts have the same problem. You know, you can get charged for that. But anyway, so Treasure, we aligned our interests with our customers so that we can help them earn the returns that we think they deserve. Now, large companies have been able to unlock this for a long time. This isn't anything that's really new, right? And we have companies, Airbnb, ADP, Apple. This, by the way, is the percentage of their revenue that they are able to generate just from treasury management. Right? This is something that's not historically accessible to smaller businesses and other businesses. If you look at how to run a successful treasury department, there's a lot of overhead. Like it's going to cost probably around $500,000 a year minimum, salaries, overhead, infrastructure, that kind of stuff. And you're not going to get an impact right away, right? So if you're thinking about how and when does this become cost effective, it's not going to be until you have hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank before this even makes sense to you. And if you're a startup or smaller companies, it might also distract you from what you really should be doing, figuring out your product, right? And that sort of thing. So Treasure, provides this treasury management as a service to make this accessible to all businesses, irrespective of size. And this is an example of at least what our current investment team, led by Ben, who is actually here. Ben is amazing at this. He was Peter Thiel's portfolio manager for about 10 years, right? So, and he knows how to do this. And so part of this, like in my mind, is like, oh, this is like these companies being able to hire him and his team to do this for them, which they would never be able to do, right? And so you can see, right now, these are the assets that they've chosen. Some of these current rates, and they keep this competitive. The Fed has been hiking rates, and we pass that on to our customers. If you talk about before with banks, what we're seeing is they don't really do that, right? Or if they do, they're not doing it as much, and it takes them much longer. So I'm going to talk a little bit now about my journey with Retool. And it started before Treasure. I actually met David at an event, an engineering event about 2018. Right? I don't know if you remember, I haven't really talked to him since then. But anyway, that's where I learned about Retool. And to me, it makes sense, right? I love Retool right away. You said, oh, internal tooling, it never gets enough attention. You don't have product managers. Everyone's like, oh, internal tools. It just, whatever. You don't build them, or you build things that suck, right? They don't work, and they all have all these problems. And people view this as, oh, well, that's not our product, right? It drains resources from, it's just gets a bad rap. And so it's something that working at a company you just deal with all the time. Like, I love this, I want to use this. Unfortunately, it wasn't in my domain at the time. I passed this over to, and they did some evaluations, I think, and nothing really ever came of that. Interestingly enough, when I was coming over to Treasure, my head of engineering was trying to pitch the executive team on this tool called Retool, right? And so I was doing assessments leading up to starting, and I had a meeting with him. He's going to pitch me on Retool. Like, you don't have to pitch me on Retool. Like, what do you want to use it for, right? And so I'm learning about the organization. And to me, the biggest problem was interrupt, right? So we have all these parts of the business asking engineers for stuff. That's taking away their time building product. It's taking away their time from doing the things that we want them to do. And these repeating requests all the time. It's like, well, this is a perfect thing for Retool to accomplish. And this is something that's interesting. I literally signed the contract for Retool on my first day at Treasure. It's something that's literally one of the first things that I did. As a matter of fact, I was talking to Dara over email, and it's like, well, actually, I haven't started yet. I have to wait till this day to sign a contract. But if you get everything ready, I want to start doing this. I want to start. So I didn't want to wait, right? And so this is really, really cool. So this is a picture, kind of like how this is structured now. Here, this is just a screenshot of me being logged in. The point of this is you can see, this organized by different parts of the business. Everybody, literally everybody at Treasure uses Retool. Every single person uses it for lots of stuff, right? And so we'll figure out how we get here, right? But that's just something that people talk about. Oh, thank you, Retool. We have this all hands where we say, oh, I'm going to call out like so and so for the thing that they did to help. It was like for months and months and months, every single time we have all hands, like, I want to thank Retool, right? And like, oh yeah, well, they're not here, like, but the application's there, and certainly engineers are building the tools at the time, definitely appreciate that. But so the first thing we did was we hooked, Retool into all of our data sources. That was really, really easy for most part. And there's some of them were more complicated, like hooking to Salesforce, and some of that stuff was harder. And for Salesforce, but that actually had nothing to do with Retool. They messed up our API. Like it was supposed to be on and wasn't on. But anyway, so we started using this for business metrics. A lot of things, so looking at tracking performance for the business, what are we trying to do? What are we trying to accomplish? What are our goals? And I noticed that people are asking, hey, so-and-so, can you pull this report for me? Like, run this out. Like, we need to know how many of this and all these kinds of things. Like, well, let's just like figure out what everybody needs, put it in Retool, right? And we had goals, literal goals, OKRs for the percentage of certain kinds of graphs and certain kinds of things that were Retool dashboards now. Nobody had to go and look for anything. We could just open up the Retool dashboard in the meeting and see what all the, nobody had to do any prep work unless they want to know what the numbers were before the meeting, right? But that was really, really transformational. This is something that relieved engineering of all of those responsibilities. And they also became addicted to, the things that we're doing, not just with Retool, but this kind of process. Oh, freed this up, and we suddenly had control of our engineering resources, which was sort of the point, right? And so, yes, that accomplished that. But now we have Retool. At the time, we actually hadn't launched our product yet into the public. And so this is an interesting part that I talked to Dara about this. I'm like, well, most of the stories we have is like, oh, before Retool, after Retool. And like for us, there's no before Retool, right? So Retool was part of our application from the beginning of our application for all intents and purposes. And so this right here is one of my favorite projects. This is actually done in the hackathon in one day. What we're looking at here is a programmable rules engine that's hooked into our events infrastructure. It allows people to specify metadata for events and capture. I want to see this, and I want to send a message to a particular person in Slack or a particular channel, send out an email. In the later versions of this, we actually can send API calls and do all, like anything, right? And it's really, really neat. This is now something that we can use, in some of our KYC processes. What we're doing, we are in a regulated industry. We have all of these, compliance responsibilities, KYC, KYB. And so this is something that we can use to identify cases. Well, this passes review, or this needs manual review. And we definitely use this for that. An example of one of the cases where these reviews are necessary is transaction reviews. Right, and so transaction monitoring, we identify here's something that for whatever reason, like the metadata, doesn't automatically pass, or we have some percentage of manual reviews that have to happen. That can be done with Retool to spit this out to risk analysts and other people that are going to review this. And this just saves us a whole bunch of time, right? We can do so much more, right? Like reducing the amount of things that need to be reviewed. And this is an example of a GAIAC integration. So at the back end of this is actually connecting to a GAIAC API, which does a lot of bank account verification, validating owners, other bank accounts. It's really, really important stuff. So we have confidence in the transactions that are happening in our system, keep our customers safe. And so this has just been like super transformational for us, right? And if we're looking at like, what are we planning with Retool? And what are we doing? We've standardized a ton of stuff. We're looking at standardizing for our engineers that are working on building tools and standardizing all of the libraries that they use, the different kinds of things, so that I can really, really easily build a dashboard. Interestingly enough, yesterday, Ben, who is here somewhere, as I said, there he is right there, asked for something, a report on something he's trying to do, and our engineers identified, actually, he asked for this before, right? And so one of my engineers in an hour built a customizable dashboard for that report that was better than what was provided the time before that applies. Oh, now you can actually get this anytime you want. You can customize the report. If there's some kind of response that Charlie was like, oh, is there anything else that you need? Is there anything wrong with this? Like Slack me, I'll fix it. Right? He's like literally able to do this in an hour, and that work just goes away. Right? And the dashboard is awesome. Right, so that's possible for us, with Retool. Right? We're also standardizing all these data sources. You want to standardize something like, okay, what is gross revenue? What's net revenue? Like, how's that actually defined? Like, historically, I've done this with tools like Tableau. You use these, but now we can standardize these as modules and plug and play and drag and drop, that kind of thing. It's like, okay, now we have consistent definitions for what these things are across different business functions, across different meetings. When somebody says revenue, that means revenue, and it's always the same thing. Like that disambiguation is something that happened to be sort of a problem for us, right? So I'm happy to answer any questions about what it is that we do. If people want to talk to me or Ben later, we have QR code here. If anybody is interested in participating with treasury management or like this is a referral from Retool. Retool is very near and dear to us, right? We're happy to extend what we would extend to Retool to anybody that comes through this way. Again, and Ben he was right there. If you want to raise your hand, stand up. He's one of our co-founders, chief investment officer, and running all the investment team. He's a great person to talk to if you're interested in learning about this or using our product. But yeah, like for us, we love Retool, and thank you.
Cool. So I was told just 3 slides, so this will be a little shorter. And I realized I forgot one on my company. So I work for Flexport, which you probably can't see on my sweater here. But how many do you guys know what Flexport is? Have you heard of Flexport? Maybe half the group. Okay. So we are a freight forwarder, which probably doesn't help at all. What that is. So freight forwarding is like an ancient industry. It's basically a travel agent for international trade, right? So it's hundreds of years old, and like the terminology we use reflects that, right? So if you've heard of a bill of lading or know what that is, right? That's like a ticket on a boat. And so yeah, it's an ancient industry. It's again a travel agent for shipping containers. So they're coordinating the movement of international trade across borders, customs, brokerage, like linking up between truckers and airlines or container ships or these kinds of things. A lot of paperwork. The industry at large, I would say, really does work like a travel agency from the 70s or something like that. For those of you old enough to remember what travel agents are. And our Flexport's job is basically to update that experience so that it's like personal travel today, right? We don't generally use travel agents anymore, right? You don't need them. Yeah, so there's a lot of work that goes along with that. It's our CEO's got a corny joke that it shouldn't be called freight forwarding, it should be called freight email forwarding, because that's literally still how people communicate. My first company out of college I worked for was like a importer, and we used a competitor, and I really could not believe that was kind of how things still actually work. So faxes, phone calls, emails is like how you access data for competitors, because it's very expensive to get that information into a platform where you'd have like a searchable, indexable sort of data source of what's going on with your stuff, right? So that's what Flexport does. My role at Flexport, I've been here for 5 years, and it's evolved a bit. I guess what I most recently moved off of was running a huge team of humans that helped to supplement all the tech we built to do this stuff, right? So if in an individual shipment, we were interacting with a dozen or more counterparties that are all going to be communicating with us in the way of 100 years ago. So sending bills of lading, PDFs. Well, they didn't have that 100 years ago, but you get my drift, right? Sending PDFs with very non-standard structured data. You get tons of this. This is how all of the information about international trade exists out there in the wild. So getting that into the platform is a major technical challenge. Inevitably, we can't get 100% automated. So I started 4 years ago, 1 year in, basically a dedicated shared services center for the whole company that worked with technology to solve this problem. So, have OCR, but then it would need to get reviewed and, partially data entered, corrected, these kinds of things, right? So we ended up building quite a large team. About 350 folks internationally at the time I rolled off that team. It started under the customs department. But then one on the wrong spot. There we go. We ended up doing stuff that had nothing to do with customs because everybody needed this service. And in the midst of that, we had to improvise all of these internal tools to keep ourselves organized because we were growing so fast that there was just no way that any product team could keep up with us and everything we needed to do. So we ended up using now I'm finally at the slides. We ended up using BI tools to help us out and stay organized, right? So we have this thing called Periscope, which is like Looker or Tableau or other things that you were talking about, you guys using, and we would use it kind of very creatively actually to dole out work to the team. And so at one point, this is how it worked. This isn't very, by the way, this is just when we started, but you have a dashboard that tell you what all the tasks you need to do are. And then for some of the team that worked overseas, we have to physically, they couldn't get access to these dashboards. So we were having to send them spreadsheets. Again, this didn't go like this for very long, but just to get a sense of sort of what it was like before Retool for work use and stuff that we had that didn't have a dedicated product support team. So Retool really helped us change the way that this worked, right? So you can see on the left here, something I built myself. I'm very much in Charlotte's category of like my path to coming to Retool. No, I was a history major, right? I worked at my first job out of college was importing tequila from Mexico, right? So I should not be, up here, but nevertheless, was able to figure this out. So yeah, we basically, you can see if we go back up a slide, this table we have on the left that kind of goes into the pane on the left here. And so that's kind of getting to parity with what we had. And then we get, a big improvement. So my demo will go through this in detail. So I don't want to like steal that thunder. But, we're sort of filtering out all the non-relevant information in 2 here. And then 3, you're joining in stuff that had lived in Google Sheets or Confluence or wherever else SOPs that people have to tell them what to do live. And then that 4, there is actually allowing you to write back to the platform, right? Again, something like me, which is definitely not possible in old environment. So, we started with Retool 2 years ago, I think it was. Took a little bit of time to get sort of off the ground. There was some issues we worked through with IT in terms of who could access what. You can see about a year ago, things really began to take off, and this is out of date. I think we're at 300 users or thereabout right now, and my role has changed, right? So that org that I started of 300 people across the world, it's been split up. My job is now actually to promote Retool internally, along with 1 or 2 other code tools we got to supplement our in-house product team. And this is a real focus of the most senior execs at the company in terms of our kind of core product strategies. You can see a couple notes. Our CTO here. Just another note on Flexport. So our new CEO was the CEO of Amazon.com a month or 2 ago. He stepped down, joined Flexport. He and his leadership team were very focused on these kinds of solutions as like, again, not like an afterthought or something over to the side, but the way that we actually scale, but again, the long tail of stuff that needs to get done, because there's almost no way you could really do that without a tool like this. So I will try to, with your help, Finra, figure out my demo here.
All right, so here is a Retool app that we use to help with our track and trace process. So this is the processing through the question of where's my stuff. So importing goods, this looks like it's from Korea, going to Florida, right? Yeah, that might take a month or so. There is a Retool app that we use to help with our track and trace process. So this is the process answering the question of where's my stuff. So importing goods, let's say, and this looks like it's coming from Korea, going to Florida, right? Yeah, that might take a month or so. And at any given point along the way, you might want to know how we're looking. Are we still expecting to deliver this on time? Where in the journey is it? Those kinds of things. And so this is one of the earlier Flexport really distinguished itself from our competitors in providing very granular and high reliability data. And so this process is almost entirely automated. Given the volume of cargo that we're tracking and sort of all the different regions that we're tracking, inevitably there's white space in data that we have for some small percent of the shipments, and or sort of conflicting signals that we're getting from different sources that need to get resolved. So UIs like this help us do that process, very efficiently. And so originally when I joined the company, we were using BI tools and or internally built tools to help folks find the work they needed to do to do this tie breaking or white space filling. But Retool has really helped us evolve that forward. And so, you can see on the left the equivalent of the tables that we used to provide folks, basically just a list of stuff to do and maybe a link to where they would go do it. So we've evolved that by adding in these 2 panes to the right. So the middle pane here filters out all of the noise that's not relevant to that specific activity that would normally be present if you're doing this in an internal app, in a shipment page, which is just filled with data. Again, mostly not relevant. Fortunately, I can't show you that, but you can take my word for it that it would be 10x more the amount of content that they would have to sort of navigate through to find what they're looking to do. And then over here on the right is where we would join in SOPs specific to the task that's being highlighted. So you can see for the middle and the right pane, as I go up and down, these will dynamically update, right? So the ship looking at, and then the specific context around what we're trying to do will be different from one task to the next. And you can see if I go over Rotterdam here, then we have specifically Rotterdam tracking sites that are to be used instead of the carriers. But for most shipments, we're just looking at like a carrier website. So what the operator would go and do here to go get the confirmation that the shipment has actually loaded the container, they'd click over this track button, which I've already done, navigate to a page like this. You can see it's kind of, again, a whole bunch of jargon. It's going to look different than, another carrier. One has a totally different set of terminology to indicate that this milestone that we're looking for has been confirmed. So we'll dynamically show the operator just the language we're looking for here. So we're looking for loaded in Busan, which we could see did happen. This queue is actually not in production use, so the dates are a little stale. But what they would go ahead and do then after tracking it is input the date that it happened. And so that would be, I think it was the 28th, it said, right? And we would go ahead and hit confirm here, which will remove it from the queue. If they had gotten stuck, they would hit this escalate button, which would help them navigate to the place they're getting stuck, and then exactly what.
So now you believe me when I tell you that I'm not a tech person. Here we go. Yeah. So I think there's more in here, but I think you guys get the picture, right? This is one of, I don't know, dozens, or I think we have 30 or 40 different Retool apps that just my team is using, that either myself or a couple of the people on my team built. There's really no way that we could have scaled the organization that I was running up until recently without something like this. And I think the success that had has opened people's eyes to where else this could be applied, plug other gaps, right? So super excited, super bullish on all the things we can do with Retool. Like the apps that we're building have also clearly evolved. If you look at the first few to this one is even 6 months or a year old, and the ones that are coming out now are much more exciting and resemble pretty strongly like what our product team would do. So yeah, I think that's our quick story. Happy to answer any questions. Again, didn't do a slide with my contact info. You can find me in the back. Yeah, thanks guys. Appreciate it.
Well, that was all great. I don't have any closing slides or anything else. That was the prepared content for the day, but I would just plug. Thanks again to all of our speakers. Let's give them a round of applause. That was really good. Really good. I totally loved all of them. But for the rest of the evening, please help yourself. We got plenty of pizza, drinks in the bag. Please socialize, meet some other folks. If you have any questions, you can please talk to myself, Adara, any other Retool people, anyone who wants to see how some of the building actually happens, which wasn't necessarily part of all these, which is kind of the inevitability of some of these presentations. We have sales solution engineers here who can walk through that with you, so on and so forth. So thanks again for being here, obviously, and please enjoy the rest of the time. Our patio has got to be used, so please enjoy that. Thank you.
That was really good. I love it. And you are hilarious. Just
I know.
put it out there. And you know a lot about a lot of stuff. Talk about all the, that was great. I mean, it's your business, but it was yeah, I totally love that. It's sort of our responsibility. I love that.